I remember the first time I saw Metropolis Lux Obscura for the Nintendo Switch. It was a trailer showing some very dark and gritty atmosphere that felt awfully out of place for a game coming to a Nintendo platform. Granted, this title had already previously been released on Steam, but it still sparked my interest, especially because it was getting a Nintendo Switch release. This is Metropolis Lux Obscura for the Nintendo Switch, and today on Stuff We Play, that's what we're going to be looking at. Welcome to Stuff We Play, where, look, I'm reviewing a Nintendo Switch game. So, yeah, if that sounds cool to you, why not subscribe? We do everything here. Metropolis Lux Obscura for Nintendo Switch. It's a game that's very much so both a visual novel and a take on Bejeweled. So if that piqued your interest, keep on watching and let's dive right into it.
The gentle feel of elusive freedom finally caresses my skin. Like a lover's breath too many years out of my arms.
Metropolis Lux Obscura follows John Lockhart, a man who's released from prison after being wrongfully convicted of killing an old friend. From there, players must choose the path Lockhart would take in life in order to find personal redemption and potentially truly discovered who killed his friend. From the graphical standpoint, this game is brilliant. The comic style suits this game incredibly well, with smooth transitions between panel and a black and white, well, mostly black and white color palette that really reminds me of Sin City. While the game is for sure very dark and gritty and black and white, it never felt drab. It was always very interesting. It was a very much so a film noir aesthetic that is pulled off masterfully here. This is bolstered by a solid sound design. The soundtrack here admittedly is a bit forgettable, but more in the sense that you won't be humming any of these tunes once you put the game down. However, during gameplay, it has this great cinematic feel that just draws you into the action. And that's something that I can very much so appreciate. The story here can play out in a variety of ways. Players are presented with a map of the city and then are given the ability to go to each of the locations available to see a cutscene play out and thus advance the story. Granted, at some points you can only go to one location, but that's just particularly near the beginning, and I can understand that just for easing the player into things. So during cutscenes, the player may be presented with the ability to ask or answer questions, and these too can influence story progression. However, no matter what path you decide to take through Metropolis Lux Obscura, a variety of characters will be met and interacted with. And this, I feel, is a strong part of the story. A lot of these characters sure aren't given full arcs, and some are only given what I'd call mini arcs, but the individual interactions with them reveal so much about their personality and made me, as a player, want to learn more about these people. What's sad though is that that's the best part of the story. The story itself felt a bit directionless. There's 4 potential endings in Metropolis Lux Obscura, and most of them involve you dying. I'll be honest, I figured that the through line here, no matter what route would be taken by the player through the story, would be a journey of self-discovery for Lockhart, where he simultaneously sought out why he was framed. But this is never really the case. Indeed, a potentially major set of plot points involving an old lover can be gone through, but this can be completely skipped if you so please, which is both a blessing and a curse here. Granted, there's more to this game than just traveling around watching cutscenes. There's a combat system present involving a match 3 puzzle game. These usually occur at points of physical contact, i.e. a bar fight, police encounter, etc., and consists of the player being pit up against an enemy in a puzzle match. Both the player and enemy here are given a certain number of hit points, and from there the player must chip down their opponent by matching up 3 of the same icon in a row or more. I found these puzzle matches to be very simple to participate in, but simplicity worked in the game's favor here. I found them very easy to get into, and indeed every time I lost a puzzle match, I didn't feel like it was the game's fault. It always felt like my fault. However, that's not to say that the gameplay here is without flaws. MLO here can be controlled using either the Joy-Con's joysticks or the directional buttons, or the touchscreen. This usually works well, though on occasion I found some pieces in the puzzle section to get stuck and I had to pause and unpause the game in order for them to move again. Granted, it didn't happen enough to be a game-breaking deal, but it did happen enough times I felt it was worth mentioning. And also worth mentioning, I did have the game crash at one point. It wasn't even in the gameplay section, it was in the middle of a cutscene, and the game just up and crashed. And it's strange, I've never had a Nintendo Switch game crash on me before, except for Troll and I. Thankfully, this game isn't that bad, but I do think maybe a stability patch might be in order here. Of course, I did go for every ending, and that took me roughly 4 or 5 hours max. and as such throughout the time I only had the one crash. But your mileage may vary as far as stability goes. Now, you heard me right on that gameplay time, only 4 to 5 hours. And if this game costs more than $8 to $10, I probably would say it's a pass. However, at that price, it may be worth your time. While it won't last weeks and weeks, it will definitely give you enough for an afternoon or so to really sink into, draw you into a world with an imperfect story but lovable characters and a fun combat system. A very flawed game for sure, but one that I enjoyed my time with, and that at the price point, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't recommend if it was more, but that at this price point, I can wholeheartedly recommend. That's my look at today on this really cool original film noir style game. Are you picking up Metropolis Lux Obscura for the Nintendo Switch? What indie games should I look at in the future? Let me know down in the comment section below, and while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this. So with that, thank you very much for watching, stay classy, and I'll see you next time.